Right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to present my work here today, and I will actually demonstrate the implication of my research using India's agriculture as a case study. Well, since this is the last presentation of the day, I will begin with the conclusion. And then I will fill in the details that will lead us to this place. Well, my research suggests that what I call self-organizing decentralized open system, or SODOs in short, play a key role in sustainable resource usage, food security, and social innovation. So, what is SODOs? SODOs are grassroots organization involving medium-sized group of up to 150 members. They are not hierarchical, and respectively, there is also no strong leadership structure. So the application, as I told you, I'm beginning with the end. The application of my research could help India become a pioneer in conservation agriculture while significantly raising the standard of living as well the well-being of its citizens. Well, that said, I will outline the main finding of my research. Well, first, a little background. Well, except for a few unique countries like Sweden, most societies are characterized by relatively low or deteriorating level of interpersonal trust, along with low level of low trust in institutions. The finding of my research are especially relevant for countries with low trust level that still have functioning democratic institutions such as USA, Germany, and India. Well, the map you see here is a map of interpersonal trust level around the world, where blue represent high level of trust, red is poor level of trust, and the rest, pink, is in between these two poles. Well, for more than half a century, scholars have tried to understand the mechanisms that facilitate cooperative behavior in individual use of common pool resources. It's already recognized, and there is no news here, that a multi-layered approach of incorporating regulation, strong enforcement of environmental regulation, architectural alteration, information provision, environmental education, and efforts to change norms has only limited impact on encouraging pro-environmental behavior. Recent scholarship in the field of social innovation has recognized the need for bottom-up innovation, especially in the field of social dilemmas such as sustainable agriculture. This scholarship emphasizes the role of communities as driver for change. I'm arguing that self-organized, decentralized open systems, SODOs, are both direct and mediator requirement for environmental conservation and social change. Well, a few boring academic stuff, and then I will get into the case of India. Well, when the model that I outline is based on individuals' selfish motivation for collective action. Well, this is not new. But the selfish motivation I'm talking about is not the classic definition which calculates economic costs and benefits, nor the broad, more recent definition that includes social punishment. I'm talking about something that psychologists called self-efficacy, also known as participant efficacy. Participant efficacy is the belief that one's own action will make a difference to collective efforts at achieving group goals. In the formation of group, rather than an individual's act, participant efficacy is an important selfish motivation that facilitates collective action. The thing is that such motivation could only survive in groups that manage to develop group identity and potential group efficacy, as opposed to the general assumption that group identity and collective efficacy predict collective action, my finding supports by environmental psychology studies focus on self-efficacy as a prominent motivation within a group. My research suggests that pseudos provide the most efficient group structure to facilitate collective action, meaning I argue that pseudos furnish collective efficacy, participant efficacy, and group identity that in turn will establish trust and collective action. However, I also argue that pseudos will remain negligible phenomenon in modern societies as the formation of such group requires complex group dynamics that individuals in Western societies are not trained to facilitate. In order to promote the proliferation of pseudos in Western societies, a few preliminary steps are required. However, and here comes the interesting stuff, in countries like India, where most of the population still lives in small communities, the road toward sustainable resource usage and increased well-being is, believe it or not, much shorter. Well, I will provide some facts that you probably know, but I will summarize it briefly. The fertility of India's soil is declining, and this creates a major threat to food security. It's widely believed that excessive use of chemical fertilizers, which are subsidized by the government, are the major cause of low yields, poor soil quality, and the pollution of water resources. The situation is exacerbated by land clearing and deforestation and poor irrigation and water management technique. To address this issue, the government, India's government, is investing in an expensive, large-scale program of individual soil testing. The program, as you probably know, and you know it, aims to provide 145 million farmers with individualized laboratory tests of their land soil composition, providing a detailed analysis of the availability of various nutrients and other compounds, along with recommendation for fertilizer application based on target yields. It should be noted that the government is also faced with rising cost of fertilizers, subsidies, and you also know these facts. An early empirical study of Fishman et al. Indicates, well, surprisingly or not, that farmers are not following the recommendation. Why? The reason that the researchers suggest are, first, they think that farmers don't understand the recommendation. Second, lack of trust in the institution. Third, the high price of nutrients. The main suggestion of those researchers are, first, formulate a better explanation. Second, inspire farmers' trust. For example, include local input dealer in the soil testing program, since farmers often seek input detailed advice on farming practices. The implication of my research, coupled with recent findings from conservation agriculture that empirically show its economic benefits for both the farmers and the ecological system, suggest that government subsidy program is taking the wrong approach. The government is promoting industrial agriculture technique such as chemical fertilizers and chemical nutrients to small farmers who cannot compete with much larger farmers. These independent farmers will never be able to compete with their larger rivals unless the structure is changed and these small farmers unite into large entities. The research on conservation agriculture, along with my findings, suggests that the strength of India lies in its ability to preserve traditional wisdom and to promote it with modern sustainable technologies through the model of pseudos. Well, India possesses natural advantages that makes it a natural candidate for the pseudos model. First, it's already organized in small communities. Second, India's internal structure of states and the proximity of farms create a spillover effect among small farms, facilitating the creation of larger pseudos clusters. Many Indian farmers have not yet shifted to industrial agriculture technique, so traditional knowledge could be supplemented with the help of modern practices. A federation, and lastly, a federation of 29 states exists with functioning institutions that could facilitate such change. Well, lastly, I just want to say that there are some organizations, and I'm familiar with one, which is called Agragami, which is a grassroots organization which is committed to the development of tribal and other marginal communities of India and is practicing similar ideas, might be on a better track than the current scheme of trying to help 145 million farmers with more chemical nutrients and more fertilizers. So thank you very much for listening and enjoy the afternoon.